Hello, Fiona Whitten from Oakville Crafts here, and welcome to my latest stamping and creating video. A little bit different today in that I am sharing with you the card that I designed, and also some of the cards that I've made for my OnStage swaps. So to give you a little bit of background information, when Stampin' Up hold an event, be it an on-stage event, which is an annual event, or an on-tour event, which are smaller events that are held the same time as on stage, then what many people do is what we call swapping. And to do that, you make a card and you make multiples of it. A lot of people have asked me in the past is how many swaps do you make? And really the answer to that is however many I want in return. You make 100, you swap with 100 people, and you come home with 100 ideas. So it's a great way of getting to meet people and get ideas from all over the Stampin' Up world. And today I'm going to show you what I've made and how I made it. And as I mentioned the other day, I've used the Fitting Florets stamp suite, I should say, which contains or has in it the framed floret stamp set and the framed florets dies. Now these will be featured in the January mini catalogue, but they are available now. There are a couple of other things that are available now. There is a framed and festive stamp set, which is a limited time release. That's only going to be available to the 4th of January, which is when the mini catalogue starts. And also the paper, the 12 by 12 paper, it's only going to be available for a limited time until the from now until when the mini catalogue is released in January. So these you can get any time, but these two items here are only available now till the 4th of January. So if you see what you like with regards to the paper, then I would suggest you put your order in soon, because I think this is going to go pretty quickly. There are also some of these little gold adhesive back swirls. I didn't get my hands on them when I did my pre-order, simply because they hadn't actually arrived. So that will be in my next order, but at the moment I don't have any, so I didn't actually use any of them for my swaps. So I'm guessing you kind of want to know what my swaps look like, and I'm hoping that this is not going to be too shiny for you, because I put them in a cellophane envelope. We don't tend to do full cards, so this is simply a card front, and then people can then glue it to a basic white card or whatever it is that they want to use themselves. It's also normal for you to put it on a label saying who made it, where it was for, and then a little list of the items used. So this was my basic design. So this one is a balmy blue background with some of the paper. I used quite a few different sheets of the paper. So this was one. This was another. So again, this is a balmy blue one. And then this was a third. So there was these with the 3 balmy blue bases. And then there are also some polished pink cards. So these are the other alternatives. So I've made 3 of each type. So those are going to be my swaps. And there will be a photograph going up on Facebook and everything. So I'm sure you want to know how I made them. Well, so, oops, let's grab that one. In good old Blue Peter fashion, I could say here's one I made earlier, although it's not made, it's just simply pre-cut. And there's a couple of tricks that I want to show you. So I have my polished pink card base. So this is the same size as a normal full-size card front. So it measures 10.5 centimeters by 14, well mine measures 14.85. A lot of people just cut it at 14.9 and then that's 10.5. I have a layer of basic white that sits on top. So that is 0.5 centimeter smaller. So this measures 14.4 by 10. I then have my paper, which this particular piece, I was going to say, measures 14.4 by 10, but actually it's not. So I will cut that because obviously it needs to be 0.5 centimetre smaller. So that means it needs to be 9.5 centimetres by 13.9. So I'm always asked, how do I remember? And it's for me, it's quite simple. As I said, it's just a straightforward 0.5 centimetre smaller, both in the width and the length. In the US, I imagine they use either 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, depending on how big a gap that they want. Because I've used a polished pink base, I've also cut a polished pink strip. So this measures the 14.9, so it's the whole length, and then the width is 4.5 centimeters. And then I've also cut a piece of basic white that will sit on top of that. So that measures 4 centimeters by 14.9 centimeters. So if I bring back a card, so if I just leave that there, hopefully you can see that. Just about, I think. So what I'm going to do is some stamping. Now, because I made multiples of this card, what I decided to do was I put my stamps onto my stamp apparatus. This is a great tool if you're making lots of the same. So for this time of year, for example, if you're making lots of Christmas cards and you're sending the same card to everybody, then this just makes life so much simpler. So I'm going to start off, and what I did was I started with my initial piece and I marked on the grid paper. So you can buy grid paper to go with your stamp apparatus. So for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a stamping tool, and it's hinged, and you can move this hinge, and there's usually another one there, which means that you can have multiple stamps with different colours, and there's all sorts of techniques that you can use with it. The base has grids marked. It comes with some magnets, which are really, really strong. So I warn you now, you do not want to get 2 of these knocking together because they will break. And it also comes with a foam pad, because when you're using the photopolymer, you want something that you can push against, and you want it something soft. So I've got, because I'm using a photopolymer stamp, so I've got my base, I've got my foam pad, and I've got my grid paper. I then marked, because I'm doing multiples of this, I marked on the grid paper where I was going to place my cardstock that wants to be stamped on. And you can anchor that simply by using the magnet. Now, I've already put this on because this is what I used. So originally what I did was I placed them on here. And if I can actually, thinking about it, I can do it again because I have multiples of this already. So you're going to place your stamps on here. You wouldn't necessarily put both on, but I'm using the same coloured ink for both. So from that point of view, you can actually have them on together. If, for example, I was stamping this with basic black, then I would pick this up with that And then if I was stamping that in a different colour, then I would have my second hinge here, and I would close that down to pick that one up. So then I could then stamp the black, lift that, and then I could stamp the whatever the other colour is. But I'm only using basic black, so I'm using a tuxedo ink for this, because I'm actually going to then use my Stampin' blends. Another trick is to actually use an ink pad. So if you have an ink pad, just a standard Stampin' Up ink pad, you can place that under your hinged piece like that, and then that just gives you something firm to push against when it comes to inking. So as I said, I just want to ink up these two stamps, and then I'm going to just bring that over, and I'm simply going to stamp down, give it a good push. Now, if you're not happy with the image, it's like in the middle there, it's not quite as dark as I would like it to be, you can just simply put more ink onto your stamp, bring your hinge back over, bring the plate back over, and again push down, and because it's hinged and it's fixed, you will be stamping in exactly the same place. So as you can see now, with that second application, it's much darker. So I'm done with my stamping. So I did that, I don't know, 20 plus times. This makes it just so much quicker than having to stamp that and then stamp that separately. I know that everything is going to look the same. So if you see from here, they are pretty much the same. They've got the same spacing, top, bottom, and everything. So it's a really good way of doing it. Then the next thing I did was I die cut this piece out. And I was going to say, here's one I made earlier, which I do have, but I've put it to one side. Here we go. I've put it somewhere. So we're going to use the dies. This you do have to do individually. So you're going to take the dies to match the image from the framed florets dies. So I need to put that lid back on, like so, and then I'm not going to make a mess. So the set contains various frames. Some just, so this will cut and emboss. This will just cut the hearts. So there's various things, and then some of these will then match up with the stamp set. So this is the die that I use, and I simply die cut the image out using my Stampin' cut and emboss machine. So and this one will go through the smaller machine. So you end up with the two pieces like that. It's one way of making sure that you're just being careful with the cardstock you're using. The same piece will then now be used to decorate the card. So I haven't really just stamped on one piece, cut it out, thrown that what was left away. I'm actually making use of this whole piece. And then the next thing, so I need to keep that because I want it. And the next thing I did then was I coloured. So I used my Stampin' blends, which was why I used my the tuxedo ink. So I had a selection of ink, of blends that I got out, and I didn't use them all in the end. But what I did do is, for the cards that had the blue base, then there were 3 of the blue flowers. For the cards that had the pink base, those same flowers were then pink rather than blue. just so that it sort of tied in a bit more. So they do look slightly, well, they look slightly different, obviously, because the colourway's slightly changed, but at the same time, I'm still only using the same coloured inks on all of them. So I'm going to put this one onto, it was going to be pink, so I'm going to use polished pink. And in fact, actually, I'm not even going to do that because I have one here. So this is the polished pink. Actually, no, that's not, that's the blue. Here we go. That's the blue. Where's one that has 3 pinks on? There we go. So that one's got the 3 pinks on. So that's what I want. So as I said, we've got polished pink. The 2 blues are balmy blue. So I've used light and dark in both of those. I initially coloured in the light colour and highlighted in the darker colour, and then went over again in the lighter colour. I also used Daffodil Delight for the centres of the flowers, and then some of these leaves, some are coloured using the light So Saffron, and the others are coloured using the darker So Saffron. Could have used Evening Evergreen, I think on some may well have done, but not on this particular one. So those are the colours that were used. So we've got polished pink, balmy blue, one of the Daffodil Delights, and the soft succulents. So those were the alcohol blends that I used. So once you've got your everything cut to size, it's a simple case of just putting it all together. And simply going to glue them together like that. Now, if I was making this as a full card, which I can do, in fact, here's a full card. This is a full card, so this is A4 cut in half at 10.5, so the other half of the A4 would be here. So it measures 10.5, and then the whole length of the A4, which is 29.7. So it's been scored at 14.9. So I would just, I'm going to glue those on there, if I can find my glue. So let's start with the basic white. Now I would need some basic white to put on the inside, seeing as this is a full card that will be sent at some point to someone. So I've put my basic white on. I'm just gluing my paper on. So we're going to go for the floral. Let's see now, do I want them going that way or that way? I think I'm going to have them going that way. It's kind of important to make sure that you've got your flowers going the way that you want them to be. And then simply going to glue that strip of basic white that had been stamped on. Like so, and we're going to put that onto the piece of polished pink cardstock, trying to make sure that you've got it even top and bottom. Double check that I haven't got anything hanging over the edge. So that is going to get glued on here, and this is where grid paper comes in handy. So if you line up the base of your card on a line on the grid paper. Now this is going to get put on with dimensionals. So I'm just simply going to put, I'm going to put 6 on. Be generous. I don't think it needs more than that. So I can pop these on like so. So as I said, line your base of your card on the grid paper, and then decide where you want. You can put this in the middle, you can put it top bottom, but you just want to make sure that what you're doing is that you're lining this bottom edge up with one of the squares too, and then you know that you've got equal spacing top and bottom. Just makes it so much easier, and there's no guessing then as to which it should be. And then this is the flower that's going to go on there, but I'm not going to glue it on. What I am going to do though is I'm going to put some more dimensionals foam pads on the back, like so. Again, you don't need hundreds of them. Oops, I'll try not to stick it to my grid paper. And then I'm just simply going to line it up so that it sits over the hole that's been cut when you actually cut that out. And then last but not least, I'm going to add a brushed brass butterfly. When I first saw these, I thought they looked huge, but actually when you do add them, they're not that big. So I am going to use one of the larger ones, and I'm just going to pop him here, or her there, like that. And that is basically how I made my swap. Except this is a full card, so I will find another piece of basic white. So again, this is another 10 by 14.4. That will go inside. And again, I can, if I wanted to, I could stamp on this, or I could cut some paper. So we have that paper there. So I think I'm just going to put some more paper on. So this is the same paper as that. Now I can put it on, I could put it on down the edge there, or I could put it going along the bottom. I quite like it going along the bottom. I don't need a huge piece. I just need it to be like 1.5 centimeters wide. So that's what I'm going to do. It is slightly longer than the paper that's going to go onto, cardstock it's going to go onto, but from that point of, I don't mind, because I'd rather it was a little bit too long than a little bit too short. So I'm simply going to glue that on. She says, put this on, put that right down to the bottom edge, I think this time. I don't always, sometimes I leave a little gap. Oops. That's one thing about using the glue, it gives you plenty of wiggle room to move things around. Then I need my scissors, which I know what I've done, so I've tidied them away. Typical. There you go. So I'm just going to trim that off. Put that to one side. And then simply add this to the inside of the card. And then we will be done. And voila. So that is my finished card based on the swaps that I have done for OnStage, which starts on Thursday. So I will add photographs of the various stages of making the swaps. And if you would like to purchase any of the paper or the stamps and the dies, then either email me at fiona@oakfieldcrafts.com, or if you visit my online shop, which is at https etc oakfieldcrafts.stampinup.net, then simply click on the shop button, and then that will take you direct to my online store. I think that's really it today. Well, when this gets posted, it'll be the 9th, so that'll be the last day for booking for November's class. So if you're interested in that, please, again, if you just visit oakfieldcrafts.com, and hover on the button at the top that says Classes Kits. And then there'll be a menu that pops down and you can click on the class one. And then also, if you want your card and a cuppa kit for next month and January, booking for that closes next week. So you'll find that in exactly the same place. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing the swaps that I've made. Obviously, I will when I get back, or maybe even before I get back, I will share pictures of the ones that I have received. They'll go up on my Facebook page, and in fact, there'll actually be a blog post as well. So I think that's it for now. And next week should be a card and a cup a week. So I'll see you there if you're there, and if not, I will be online at 2:30 on Wednesday. So take care. Bye.